gotta say, one game changer of the patch is that now I can guarantee that there's Trippy Chips music playing in the background when I make one of these demonstration videos. A little while back, I made a video about the I'm Not Sure Shuffle. For those who didn't see that video, I'll put a video card in that links to it. But basically, that is a pattern of movement where, especially a frontline shooter weapon, this is what I tend to see it from the most, will not really know how to approach, and so they'll just kind of like fire some shots like this and not really get anywhere because they're not putting out any meaningful paint that they can swim in. They're not putting any reasonable threat against the enemy team. In fact, they're reducing their threat to the enemy team because now the enemy team knows where they are. They're not getting special very fast because this is a very weak way to paint than if you were to just go and paint. So, their indecisiveness between, you know, do I want to paint? Do I need to protect myself? What do I need to do here? It prevents them from doing anything meaningful for a longer amount of time. And thinking about it and, you know, talking to a lot of players about it since, I think that there's maybe another underlying problem that is leading to that particular way of approaching the game, besides just indecisiveness. I think it might also be a lack of confidence in approaching to take fights using sharking. For those who don't know, sharking, it's a reference to Jaws, basically, to, you know, dum 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 wah wah. You're sitting in your paint, waiting for someone to show up so that you can ambush them. This is a way of getting close to someone without them stopping you if you're a shorter ranged weapon. Which is typically the way that this gets used. You know, you'll see a lot of rollers, brushes doing this sort of thing. But it's also really valuable for just about any weapon to know how to do, just in case. Except for maybe chargers and splatlings, since they have to charge their shots. And so as soon as they popped up and started charging, you would know they were there. So, what I think is throwing a lot of people off when they do this is their aim and their camera movement, kind of a combination of the two. Because what'll happen is you'll get players that'll kind of like, they'll swim around a corner or something, let's say, and there'll be an opponent there and they'll be, I need to shoot them. And the problem with that is that the advantage that you have from stealth is dependent on the opponent not knowing where you are. The advantage is that you are able to line your shots up and hit them, and be hitting them before the opponent has even recognized you're there. Because you need to recognize that someone's there, and then realize what you have to do to stop them, and then turn your aim, and then start shooting, and those steps of the process are happening while you're already taking damage if someone has sharked you. Well, if you don't have your aim on, and you break your stealth to shoot at someone, now all you've accomplished is giving away that you're here, and now the opponent is able to start getting their aim on at the same time that you're getting your aim on, and they have a much better chance of winning the fight that way. So, what I want players to do more when they shark is get their aim on first, before they break their stealth, before they fire shots. The very first shot that you fire in an engagement when you're ambushing someone should be landing. And more than that, you know, like, it's one thing to say, oh, get your aim on first and then fire shots, you know, and we can practice that as much as we want on these unmoving targets. But the reason I'm looking at these moving ones is that I also want to practice getting a read on where the opponent is going before I start firing shots. It's one thing to fire and, you know, aim at something that's just never going to move, like these targets. It's another thing to aim at an actual player. What you need to be able to do is not just get a sense of where they currently are in space, because then you find that spot, you shoot at that, and they're not there anymore. You need to get a sense of what direction they're moving, and maybe even what direction they could move once they realize they're being shot. And that way, once you've got a sense in your head of the flowchart for how this is going to go, you know where to aim without necessarily having to look as much, without having to spot exactly what's going on. Because you know, oh, they're moving right to left? Okay, I just follow that like this. They're moving right to left, I follow that like this. And you're a lot more likely to get those shots quicker than you are if, as soon as you see it, you're just kind of like flailing around and overcorrecting and doing all of this. Just have a nice controlled motion as you practice with these moving targets, so that you're getting a sense for, if they're moving this fast, this is how fast my aim has to move. And that way you'll have the best chance of landing all of those shots quickly when you engage on someone from a sharking position. Here's another aspect of predicting your opponent's movements that it's a little bit easier to show in recon mode than it was in the training room. Let's say that I'm here, and an opponent is right here, and is moving this way. So if I'm in this position, and I start shooting at this player, there are a couple of things that they can't do because of the positioning that they have on the map. If they want to throw my aim off as much as possible, and they're sitting right here, what they ideally want to do is move perpendicular. If they move just between me and their current position, I don't have to change my aim at all. I can aim straight ahead, and I'm going to continue to hit them, regardless of whether they move forward or move back into the wall, I guess. But if they move to the side, perpendicular to where I can aim, that throws my aim off the most. Thing is, they can't move perpendicular to my aim in this direction because the wall is there. If they're going to move in this direction, they're going to get this different angle, which I don't have to adjust my aim very much to be able to follow that. So that's not really optimal for them to do. So if, you know, I'm an opponent right here, and someone starts shooting at me from here with a splatter shot, you know, splatter shot has a lot more range than just this. So if I try to move back in this direction, I'm just going to keep getting shot. So my best option is to move in this direction, because that puts me perpendicular to their line of fire, and since I can't get out of range, moving perpendicular is my best bet, and I can't move perpendicular in the other direction. So we've just narrowed down, if I, you know, start shooting at someone from right here, the most likely place that they're going to want to dodge is this way. And so I, as this player, want to be kind of anticipating, okay, either they don't do anything, and I hit all my shots, and they just go this way, and I 1, 2, 3, like that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, as I'm following them, and I get them that way, or they start to dodge over to here, or something like that, and now I'm mentally ready to snap to that direction if that's where they decide to go, because I'm already ready for it. Maybe what I even do is I throw a bomb over here, which signals to them, oh, I can't back up, so I have to go this way, and I actually get the player to go exactly where I expect them to. That is an option sometimes. In this situation, I would just fire the shots since I'm already in range. But it could be useful to do that, for instance, in a situation where the player is just a little bit too far past me for me to be sure I'm going to hit all 3 shots. So maybe I roll this bomb to force them closer to me, and then I can hit my shots. Something like a splat bomb lets weapons like the T-Tech and the Junior set fights up for themselves in ways that a lot of other weapons aren't capable of. But you can also get this sort of effect to some degree with things like torpedoes, fizzy bombs. Suction bombs work a little bit if they've been out there for a little while, although they take a little bit longer to explode, so they're easier to dodge. Auto bombs will force people to move. They'll just not necessarily trap them as much because you can choose when the auto bomb detonates, so it's a little bit easier to work around. You know, use whatever sub-weapons you have at your disposal to create these sorts of conditions that might force your opponent to move a certain way, and recognize the effect you're having on that opponent so that maybe you can manipulate them to going where you want them to go so you can hit your shots more easily. Hopefully setting these fights up a little bit more deliberately, rather than just trying to snap to them right away, actually getting your crosshairs where you want them, and getting your position where you want, and maybe moving them where you want to. Hopefully that is going to lead to more successful splats that you just get randomly in neutral, and hopefully it's going to lead to you getting splatted less by initiating a fight earlier than you're ready to take it.